I'm going to get all Back to the Future on you right now, because I'm going to go fast forward from where I left off in the last episode, and then I'm going to go back in time, and then I'm going to fast forward again. All right, but so stick with me, trust me, it'll be worth it. Today is one day after my son, my youngest son, Zach, turned 13 years old, the big 1-3, big teenager years now. And he's having he had a friend spend the night, and his friend is here with him today, and they're going to spend the night again tonight. But they're actually out back as I speak in a big inflatable kiddie pool, just having fun, spraying each other with water. They got water guns, they're tossing the football around, all fun stuff, which got me thinking about my childhood. Those are the types of things that I did back in the day. Because back then, I mean, we didn't have, I mean, if you're my age, I'm 51, we didn't have what the kids nowadays have with the cell phones and the video games and the 8 million channels and the streaming services and all that, all the electronic devices and features that you could possibly imagine. We didn't have any of that. We had, I don't know, 4, maybe 5 channels. Cable TV didn't come until I was midway through high school. So I think I had channel 2, channel 4, channel 5, channel 7, and channel 9 and 11. I think that's all it was. Your main ABC, NBC, CBS, and so forth affiliates. That's all we had. So if you wanted to entertain yourself, if you wanted to have fun, you had to go outside and be physically active to do it. And that's what I did. And no, my eating habits back then, they were okay. They weren't the greatest. I was a kid, so I didn't eat the greatest. I loved my Twinkies and Devil Dogs and Ding Dongs and all that other stuff. But I was active, so I stayed fairly thin for the most part growing up. And it stopped after I left college, got off into the real world, started working in the newspaper industry. And at that point, it was all about work. So the only physical activity that I had was getting up from my desk to go down to my car, to get into my car, to drive to the next event that I needed to cover, which often meant stopping somewhere along the way at a fast food joint to get a meal that would fill me up, but certainly wasn't healthy in any way, shape, or form for me, and then head on to where I was, or get something at the arena, which was truly tasty for the most part, but once again, not very healthy at all. And that's where the weight gain started, because I stopped stressing being physically active. And I've seen that over the past several years with Zach, where again, as he started to utilize phone more, and he got a video game system for the first time, which I believe was the Christmas after COVID, or the COVID shutdown anyway. And so a lot more reasons to stay inside. And frankly, I'll be honest with you, growing up, I'm gonna go back in time for just a second. Growing up, there were kids everywhere. There were probably 30, 40 kids at its height back within a 3-4 mile radius, 3 or 4 block radius, I should say, back when I was growing up, back when I was his age. And everybody was outside. You don't see that now. I know there's kids in our community where we live now. You hardly ever see them because they hardly ever venture outside. I had, somebody reach out to me the other day about scheduling a play date with Zach, with their child. And which is a great, great thought, great idea, great opportunity for him to meet another kid, which is there's nothing wrong with that. But then it got me thinking, when did we reach the point where we have to schedule play dates like we're scheduling business meetings? Back in my day, you hopped on the bike, you pedaled to your friend's house, you knocked on the door and you asked if Jimmy or John or Billy could come outside and play. That's how we did it. That was making play dates back in the day. Not the case anymore, much more efficient. For me, I want him to have that same childhood. I want him to be able to be outside and have a good time and stay healthy and stay active and physically fit and run around and get dirty and skin your knees and do all that. because I want him to be healthy, certainly, but also because I want to be able to witness it. I want to be able to see it firsthand, live, as it's unfolding. I was watching it just a short time ago, them shooting each other with water guns and throwing the football around. It's partly selfish for me, which makes me think back, going back in time once again, makes me think back to when I was at my heaviest. And I wonder where I'd be right now. I wonder what I'd be doing right now. Even if I was still alive, and I've said before that I have a hard time believing that if I was continuing down the same path I was traveling back then, that I'd be alive right now. But even if I was, would I be that engaged? Would I be that involved? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure I would be. Let me give you an example. It wasn't all that long ago. I mean, our oldest boys are 27 and 23, so it seems a lot longer than it really is. But when I was still at my heaviest, so they would have been right around teen years, we would take them ice skating. When we lived in Erie, PA, in the wintertime, if you didn't ice skate, if you didn't play hockey or do some sort of winter sport activity, figure skate, whatever it is, you didn't venture outside for 6, 7, 8, 9 months out of the year. Too damn cold, too damn snow. So we would take them ice skating, my wife and I. Now, she had been skating since she was a little kid. Our two oldest had been skating off and on since they were real little, and they were getting into hockey at that time, so we'd take them to a local ice rink to go skating. I didn't know how to skate. I had never, even growing up in New York, a northern state, a state with winter, with snow, I had never gone ice skating. It just wasn't a big thing, at least within the crowd that I ran with. It just wasn't a big deal. So I'd never been ice skating before. And I decided I wanted to learn finally because I was tired of sitting in the bleachers watching everybody else have all the fun, just being a spectator in my family's life. So I asked a good friend of mine at the time if he was a really good skater. He actually used to be a power skating coach, and asked him if he would teach me. So we'd go out to the rink once or twice a week. I'd strap on the gear because Lord knows I landed on my head too often to not wear, at least wear a helmet. And he taught me how to skate. And the first thing I discovered was it's real challenging to get up on a couple of pieces of thin steel and skate when you're 250 pounds, out of shape, out of breath, very unhealthy. And for me, I started playing hockey around that time and joined some people who I still consider family and friends to this day. Started playing, and I was done by the end of the first period, 10, 12-minute period. I was gassed. By the time I was at my healthiest or my thinnest or my fittest, whatever you want to call it, I was able to play back-to-back hockey games and still had some energy left in the tank. That's how big of a difference it was after dropping 70 plus pounds. But it also allowed me to be much more active in my family's life. Now, my boys had to keep up with me. If they lifted with me, or if they, we went skating or playing hockey or whatnot, I felt pretty good that I at least could keep up with them, if nothing else. That I wasn't being left behind. That I wasn't merely a spectator watching them enjoy themselves and make memories and have fun. That was very important to me. So when I watched Zach and his friend just a short time ago before sitting down to record this, having so much fun, it reminds me why I'm doing what I'm doing. It reminds me why I've done what I've done. Because life isn't worth merely existing. Life is worth living to the fullest. And as I told someone not all that long ago, just because we're told by life, us 50-somethings and up, that we're on the back nine, that doesn't mean we can't play the best round of golf in our life along the way. And that's what I'm trying to do each and every day. Okay, now I've Back to the Future you enough. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a tease to the next episode. When I first started losing weight, the idea was I wanted to lose weight, get healthy, feel better, like anyone else. But man, it started to change. And not all that long into it. I'd say within the first 6 months or so, first year or so, especially after my wife was diagnosed with cancer, as you saw in the last episode, things started to change. Really, really big, and a lot bigger than even I thought it would.